Before the marriage ended and the rumors began, one question lingered. How could two people fall in love under the spotlight of global fame and still keep the most important parts of their relationship hidden for more than 10 years? Scarlett Johansson and Ryan Reynolds did exactly that. They married at a young age in a wedding so private that much of Hollywood never saw it coming. A few years later, they ended the marriage with the same level of secrecy. For more than a decade after their split, neither of them said much publicly, allowing tabloids and anonymous insiders to create their own versions of what had happened. Then, during a podcast conversation with her friend Gwyneth Paltrow, Johansson finally shared a few honest thoughts about that chapter of her life. Her comments surprised even longtime fans who believed the topic would never be discussed again. In this video, we'll uncover what really happened, the unexpected love story that began in secret. When Scarlett Johansson and Ryan Reynolds are mentioned today, most people immediately think of their divorce, the years they avoided discussing it, and the gradual easing of tensions over time. But to understand how everything fell apart, it's important to first look at how their relationship started. Long before the headlines about their separation, the two quietly fell in love while they were still building the careers that would eventually make them two of Hollywood's biggest stars. Scarlett Ingrid Johansson was born on November 22, 1984, in Manhattan, New York. Her father was a Danish architect, while her mother came from a Bronx family with Ashkenazi Jewish roots. Growing up in a family with 5 children, Scarlett developed an interest in acting at an early age. She made her film debut in 1994 and soon gained recognition as a teenager through The Horse Whisperer. Her breakthrough came in 2003 with Sofia Coppola's acclaimed film Lost in Translation, which established her as one of Hollywood's brightest young talents. By the middle of the 2000s, she had become one of the industry's most sought-after actresses, admired not only for her striking screen presence, but also for her dedication to thoughtful, character-driven films. Around the same period, Ryan Reynolds was steadily climbing the Hollywood ladder. Born in Vancouver, Canada, in 1976, he first appeared on Canadian television before earning wider recognition through the sitcom Two Guys and a Girl during the late 1990s. He later transitioned into feature films, gaining popularity with comedies such as National Lampoon's Van Wilder in 2002. By the mid-2000s, Reynolds had expanded into larger studio productions, building a reputation for his sharp comedic skills, natural charm, and leading man appeal that frequently landed him on magazine covers. Their paths crossed socially during the stage of their careers, not long after Reynolds had ended his engagement to singer Alanis Morissette. From there, everything happened remarkably quickly. Johansson and Reynolds started dating in 2007, and the relationship progressed so fast that they became engaged within a year. Even those closest to them were surprised by how rapidly things developed, especially since both stars were known for fiercely protecting their private lives. Looking back, Johansson has said that marrying at a young age felt like the right decision at the time. In an interview with Cosmopolitan, she explained that she trusted her instincts and believed the relationship had grown naturally from genuine love and a sincere desire to build a future together. In September 2008, the couple exchanged vows during an intimate ceremony in Vancouver, Canada. They kept the wedding so private. Even those who followed the couple closely were surprised by how little information was ever made public. At the time of the wedding, Scarlett Johansson was just 23 years old, while Ryan Reynolds was 31. Considering they would later become two of the biggest names in Hollywood, their wedding remains one of the most low-key moments of either career. There were no red carpet appearances, no official wedding photos released, and almost no advance notice that the ceremony was taking place. The years after their marriage also marked a major turning point professionally for both stars. Johansson entered the Marvel Cinematic Universe as Natasha Romanoff, making her first appearance as Black Widow in Iron Man 2 in 2010. The role would shape more than a decade of her career and establish her as one of the world's highest-grossing actresses. At the same time, Reynolds was preparing to star in Green Lantern, a project that would have a lasting impact on both his career and personal life. It was during the filming of that movie that he first met Blake Lively, who would later become his wife. As their individual fame continued to grow, their marriage remained largely hidden from public view. The contrast between their soaring careers and their private relationship became even more noticeable after the marriage came to an end. Although their relationship did not last, the privacy they maintained throughout it influenced the way they handled the breakup as well. Neither Johansson nor Reynolds turned their divorce into a public battle. They avoided dramatic interviews, public accusations, or media feuds. That decision to remain respectful is one reason people are still curious more than a decade later about what truly happened behind closed doors. At the time, many people believed their quiet wedding marked the beginning of a happy and lasting marriage. From the outside, everything appeared stable, and most assumed they knew exactly how the couple's future would unfold. But appearances often hide the truth. Behind the smiles and glowing headlines were challenges, disappointments, and unexpected turns that would eventually change everything. The reality of their relationship proved far more complicated than anyone realized, with many of its struggles remaining hidden for years. Stay with us until the end, because the complete story is much more surprising than the wedding ever suggested. The divorce, the rumors, and the years of silence. By 2010, signs that the marriage was struggling had already begun to emerge. Later that year, the couple separated, and in December they officially confirmed the news through a joint statement. They explained that the decision to end their marriage came only after thoughtful consideration, and emphasized that they had entered the relationship with love and were leaving it with that same mutual respect. Their divorce became official in 2011, bringing to an end a marriage that had lasted just under 3 years. Once the separation was finalized, tabloids rushed to fill the information gap with speculation. Various reports portrayed Reynolds as controlling, while Johansson was described as wanting greater independence and becoming increasingly unhappy. One anonymous source claimed Reynolds held more traditional expectations for the marriage, whereas Johansson wanted more personal freedom. Another report suggested that disagreements became noticeable even during visits to film sets, with one story alleging raised voices during a visit to the set of The Proposal, one of Reynolds' movies from that period. However, none of these stories were ever confirmed by either Johansson or Reynolds. Over the years, both have consistently avoided commenting on or validating the rumors. As a result, much of the public's understanding of their breakup has been shaped by anonymous reports and media speculation rather than by anything the former couple has personally said. Looking back today, one of the most remarkable things is how little either Scarlett Johansson or Ryan Reynolds tried to influence the public narrative while everything was unfolding. Neither of them sat down for a revealing interview, nor did they turn their divorce into a media battle. Their joint statement was unusually respectful by Hollywood standards, emphasizing appreciation and mutual respect instead of blame. That measured approach shaped the way they handled the breakup for years, even as rumors and speculation rushed in to fill the silence they left behind. Reynolds did briefly acknowledge how difficult the divorce had been. In an interview with Details magazine, he admitted that divorce brings genuine emotional pain for anyone who experiences it. At the same time, he stressed that it is something people eventually recover from rather than an event that defines the rest of their lives. He also addressed the timing of the breakup with his trademark sense of humor. While filming in Georgia during a particularly stressful period, he joked that he had dealt with a flooded hotel room, a sick dog, a broken finger, and, as he put it, a divorce all at once. It was a classic example of Reynolds using comedy to avoid dwelling on a deeply personal subject. Around that same time, entertainment outlets linked him to a rumored romance with a German model. Reynolds, however, dismissed the idea that he was eager to begin dating again. He explained that he had been in relationships almost continuously since high school and was still getting used to life on his own. Johansson chose an even quieter approach. For years, she rarely mentioned the marriage in public. Instead, she focused on her career and personal life while refusing to comment on the reasons behind the split, despite ongoing media speculation. Her silence continued through her marriage to French journalist Romain Doriac in 2014, the birth of their daughter later that year, and even after their divorce in 2017. Although she experienced another complete relationship and its ending, she never revisited her marriage to Reynolds publicly. To her, it seemed less like a secret and more like a chapter that had already ended long before the public was ready to move on. That silence remained unbroken for years until an unexpected podcast conversation finally brought the subject back into the spotlight. The remark that reopened the story. Everything changed in April 2023 when Johansson appeared on Gwyneth Paltrow's Goop podcast. Having known each other since their early years in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the two actresses naturally drifted into discussing their personal lives. During the conversation, Paltrow asked Johansson how many times she had been married. Thinking the answer was 2, she was surprised when Johansson corrected her, explaining that she had actually been married 3 times. Paltrow then admitted she had almost forgotten that Ryan Reynolds had once been part of Johansson's life, joking that it seemed like a forgotten chapter. Johansson's response caught many listeners off guard because it was warm and free of bitterness. She acknowledged that the marriage had been brief, but pointed out that it took place during the early years of her friendship with Paltrow, around the time she was filming Iron Man 2. When Paltrow commented that everyone in her family was a fan of Ryan Reynolds, Johansson immediately agreed, describing him simply as a good guy. The discussion also gave Johansson an opportunity to reflect on how much her outlook on relationships had changed since she was in her 20s. Johansson went on to explain that during her younger years, including her marriage to Ryan Reynolds, she had not yet learned how to establish healthy personal boundaries or fully understand what she needed from a relationship. She said it was only after gaining a stronger sense of self and becoming comfortable expressing those needs that she was able to build the kind of lasting relationship she now shares with her husband, Colin Jost. She also clarified the timeline surrounding her friendship with Gwyneth Paltrow. Although her marriage to Reynolds was relatively brief, she explained that they were still married when she first met Paltrow during the filming of Iron Man. That places their relationship squarely in the early years of Johansson's journey with the Marvel Cinematic Universe. The conversation also touched on Johansson's personal life after her divorce from Reynolds. In 2014, she married French journalist Romain Doriac. The couple welcomed their daughter, Rose, later that same year, before eventually separating in 2017. A few years later, Johansson found love again. In 2020, she married Saturday Night Live star Colin Jost, and in 2021 they welcomed their son, Cosmo. Jost, who has spent years behind the Weekend Update desk, has occasionally joked about Johansson's career on the show. Their marriage has often been described as much calmer and more stable than her previous relationships, something Johansson has credited to knowing herself far better before entering this stage of her life. What made the Goop podcast conversation resonate with so many people was how natural it felt. Johansson was not making headlines on purpose or giving an exclusive interview. She was simply correcting Paltrow after she misremembered how many times Johansson had been married, and her kind words about Reynolds came out casually during the discussion. That relaxed, unscripted moment made her comments feel especially genuine. Because they were not carefully prepared or intended to send a message, many people viewed them as more sincere than any formal statement could have been. News outlets continued revisiting the clip for months, describing it as the closest thing the public had ever received to real closure regarding Johansson's marriage to Reynolds. That single podcast appearance reshaped public opinion more effectively than years of tabloid speculation ever had. Still, it left one important question unanswered. Where do Scarlett Johansson and Ryan Reynolds stand with each other today? Where their relationship stands today? Based on everything that has been made public since their divorce, there is no sign of ongoing conflict between Johansson and Reynolds. After their marriage ended, Reynolds married Blake Lively in 2012, and together they have built a well-known family, raising 4 children. At one point, rumors claimed that Reynolds and Lively's romance had begun before his marriage to Johansson officially ended. Those claims were largely fueled by reports that the two were seen together shortly after the divorce became public. Reynolds, however, has consistently offered a different version of events. According to Reynolds, he and Lively were simply friends after filming Green Lantern. He has explained that their romantic relationship did not begin until about a year later, after both of them were single. He even recalled an awkward double date where each of them arrived with someone else before eventually realizing they had feelings for one another. To this day, no confirmed evidence has ever shown that Reynolds and Lively began dating before his marriage to Johansson ended. Since her appearance on the Goop podcast, Johansson has spoken positively about Reynolds on more than one occasion, though she has continued to avoid discussing the details of their marriage, choosing instead to describe him simply and respectfully